頑張りすぎる自分に疲れてと泣けてきた真夜中のバスルームでまだ手にしたことのない幸せがどこかにある気がして焦るのは年のせい一人楽しく生きてきたの何一つ悔やんでないけど曇った鏡のように明日が見えない Can't you see, can't you see 自由と孤独は2つでセット気ままなこと寂しさもついてくる Don't you know, don't you know 隣の芝生が青く見えたらこの庭に花を植え
We are live. Welcome to the Renegade podcast. I'm your host, the Dashing Rogue, and I'm with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman.
Good morning, terrifying fantasy world.
Good morning.
Good morning indeed. Good morning, Corona-chan. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We have a very special show tonight. We are going to be talking and doing a little bit more investigative, I guess you could say, journalism. Or at least, you know, a little bit more conspiratorial journalism, I guess the terminology would be. Or esoteric, you know, what would be a good term, do you think, for this, Luke? I'm thinking esoteric journalism, because we're going into stuff that nobody wants to go into. Like people who are doing journalism, you know, going and looking at actually analyzing, let's say, the Roswell case. Or let's say Bigfoot.
Maybe esoteric investigations?
Esoteric investigations, yeah. Yeah, I think that honestly would be the best terminology, because I know there was a guy from New Zealand, Ed from the Outer Light. He had a channel called Esoteric Detective for the longest time. He had that in the Outer Dark, but I don't think he does the Outer Dark anymore because of too many. Well, let's just say too many copyright strikes, or maybe the Outer Light was more of a profitable, got more views or something like that.
Well, they always will. They always will, though.
So, how do I want to start this one? Because we're going to be talking primarily about prison cults, or by extension, prison gangs, Manson, and Adrenochrome. And now again, I want to bring this up for two reasons. Because for those of you out there who've been following this channel long enough, you know that I've been really, really harping on the whole satanic connection to white nationalism and Leviathan Satanism. So I wanted to do a little bit more research into that. And one of the things I noticed was this weird connection with adrenochrome. A lot of people.
What is
adrenochrome? It's basically adrenalized blood. It's the blood of, let's say, of a person who has a lot of adrenaline flowing through their veins, and it's created in such a way that the user basically they're basically terrified out of their mind. And in order to, and it's a refined version of that adrenaline found in the blood. And oftentimes, people who are in the QAnon circles and the people who talk about Pedogate and Pedowood and all these other, spirit cooking, which, by the way, we'll talk about about that in a little bit as well, because apparently Bill Gates, because it's just as if he didn't want to attract any more negative fucking attention, he got that Marina Abramovich chick to basically do an ad for her VR, for their VR.
Oh, yes.
Because Lord knows we need to have digital devils in our fucking VR, right? I mean, it's becoming more and more like Shin Megami Tensei every fucking day. No, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
the memes on this are just fantastic.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be fun. It really, honestly is. This is what happens when your adrenochrome and foreskin supply is cut off. Well, here's the thing about that. Like, how much of this is actual information? How much of it is misinformation? Like, that's a very big jump for us to say spore skins as well as adrenochrome. Like, people keep trying to blame it on the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. Well, we already know that the Jews are not allowed to, drink blood and eat blood. We've already debunked a lot of crap about the Talmud on this channel. By the way, go look up Lloyd de Jong and Jan Irving's work on that. They did a very good job, better than I could, honestly. I'm just some guy in the wilderness basically talking shit and calling shit like I see it. But in any case, one of the few encounters of adrenochrome I can remember was a little movie that I saw, which was based off a novel called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Have you ever seen Fear and Loathing? Las Vegas?
It's one of my have to watch eventually movies.
All right. Well, there's a part in it. Basically, the synopsis is that Johnny Depp, or in this case, Hunter S. Thompson, and his lawyer, Dr. Gonzo, they go into Vegas looking to cover I believe it was a motorcycle rally, or like a dune buggy rally of some sort. And essentially what they were doing was they're basically going in trying to cover this event that's happening, but they're basically high as a kite on uppers, downers, all arounders. Like, you can look it up. They were basically traveling through bat country, not to speak about other things that bats bring, but
that's that image that I keep seeing in the meme search.
Yeah, we're searching for that's what that is. Now, there's a part in the movie where I wish I could get the actual movie quote up, but again, it's not on YouTube because it's very hard to find on YouTube, especially in the original. But I have the original in the links in the description. I did a little bit ahead of time. There's a book, and I'll pull up the book right now, see if I can find it. It's the actual book of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. On pages 50 and 45, I will go down and I will read this to you. Because this is what really, this ties into it. I can guarantee you about this. So in 50 and 45, all the way down in our little notebook class, I'm going to read to you. Let's see, where are you? So just type in fucking Word. Okay, so I'm going to quote from the very bottom paragraph. What is it? Adrenochrome, he said. You won't need much, just a little teeny taste. I got the bottle and dipped the head of a paper match into it. That's about right, he said. That stuff makes pure mescaline seem like ginger beer. You'll go completely crazy if you take too much. I licked the end of the match. Again, this is the writing style of this type of Hunter S. Thompson, which basically you don't know who's saying what, so just bear with me. But I want you to listen to what people are going to be saying. So, okay, so where were we? All right. Oh, yes. Where did you get this? I asked. You can't buy it. I guess this is Hunter S. Thompson talking to his lawyer. Never mind, he said. It's absolutely pure. I shook my head sadly. Jesus, what kind of monster client did you pick up this time? There are only one source of this stuff. He nodded. The adrenaline glands of a living human being, I said. It's no good if you get out of a corpse. I know, he replied. But the guy who didn't have any cash, he was one of those Satanism freaks. One of these Satanism freaks. He offered me human blood, he said. He said it would make me higher than I have ever been in my life. He laughed. I thought he was kidding. So I told him, I just as soon have an ounce or so of pure adrenochrome, or maybe just a fresh adrenaline gland to chew on. Again, they're basically eating people, but I don't know what the hell they're doing, but I could have already feel the stuff working in me. This is Hunter S. Thompson talking, I believe. The first wave felt like a combination of mescaline and methadone. That's a lot of weird, drugs that I don't even think I would do. Maybe I should take a swim, I thought. Yeah, my attorney was saying they nailed the guy for child molesting, but he swears he didn't do it. Why should I fuck children, he says. They're too small. He shrugged. Christ, what can I say? Even a goddamn werewolf is entitled to legal counsel. So when I first heard that, I'm thinking to
add,
myself, that's very, very specific for people to talk about, right?
and just to say, as a comment, I'm watching the clips of the people high as a kite, and I'm thinking, what's it like to be these people who are searching for a high every 5 minutes?
Oh, it sucks. It really does. I mean, like, thank God I have a pusher. You know, I have a pusher that gets me fucking, weed. I was thinking about doing, because of the fucking lockdown, I was thinking about just going one day just high as a fucking kite. Just running around fucking, fucking quarantine, just saying, fuck you, man.
As a friend and associate, I was discouraged, but I can't make you do anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't know. But it gets even weirder. Now, who calls themselves werewolves? We talked about before the whole white nationalist connection, the Levian Satanism. They called themselves werewolves, right? The Werewolf Order of Satanism. They talk about all this type of crap. But more specifically, who was the individual what was the name of the attorney, of Hunter S. Thompson's attorney? So I looked into it, and based on what I have, here's the link of the information for those of you who want to follow along. The name of the said attorney, which for those of you know, the guy by the name of Dr. Gonzo in the book was named Oscar Zeta Acosta. Oscar Zeta Acosta was born April 8th, 1935, and disappeared in 1974. He's disappeared. He's an American attorney, politician, novelist, and activist in the Chicano movement. Now, do you know anything about the Chicano movement, Luke?
Other than just about Chicanos? No.
Well, the Chicano movement was basically the workers' rights movement that took place with Cesar Chavez. According to the Wikipedia, the Chicano movement in the 1960s, also called the Chicano Civil Rights Movement, or El Movimiento, was a civil rights movement extending the Mexican-American civil rights movement in the 1960s with the stated goal of achieving Mexican-American empowerment, similar to the Black empowerment movement. Scholars have also written about the repression of police brutality experienced by members of the movement, which some connect to a larger government or organization such as the COINTELPRO. Now, do you know anything about COINTELPRO?
I do not.
COINTELPRO, for those of you who don't know, was essentially what is it? Well, actually, Beckloff would like to get on as well. You could send a link if you like. To Beckloff. Although I will say this, Beckloff, just let me get my arguments out and then we can discuss. COINTELPRO, for those of you who don't know, was basically the government infiltrating and investigating certain radical movements like the Black Panthers, the white nationalist movements of the 1960s, the Black empowerment, the feminist movement. Essentially, it was basically putting a bunch of feds in a lot of these movements to just because if you have an extreme movement in your country and you're having a civil war or a cold war with, let's say, a foreign power like the Soviets, you don't want those people to get hijacked and become an asset of a foreign government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that right there is the first thing that really got me, that really spooked me about this whole thing, is that this guy basically had a reason to get attacked. He had a reason to get to be attacked, but also knowing what we know about the werewolf a part of let's say the Levian Satanists. We know that they were connected to white nationalism. It's entirely possible that this guy, this Oscar, whatever his name is, probably was a victim of maybe race violence. Maybe there was a racial element to here, or a political element to why he was killed or disappeared, because he's gone. He just went to Mexico and disappeared. That's something that I would definitely look into. At the same time, it goes further, because it's not just that one quote. If we look down a little bit further onto page 50, this is titled, let's see if we can find it. Let's see. Give me 1 second. By the way, welcome, Beckloff. How are you doing?
How's it going?
It's going fairly well.
I don't know what y'all are talking about.
We're talking about this connection between LaVeyan Satanism and white nationalism. I'm doing a little bit more research into it, and I wanted to see how far and deep we can go into this type of like what was the influence within this organization, because we've already covered a lot of people even today, such as I believe his name was James Mason. You know who James Mason is, right?
No, LaVeyan Satanism is the gay LARPy kind where they're just atheists, right?
Yeah, they're basically just atheists. Yeah, they're just atheists. They don't worship the devil. They worship their own fucking consciousness and their
but they have
ego.
taxism status.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. No, I don't think they get tax exempt status. I think you're incorrect about that one, Luke. I know that I don't. It depends on what type of tax. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think the Church of Satan is considered a full-on religion. I think it gets tax exempt status.
I'm not sure if that's what it has now, but I'm pretty certain, based on what I've heard from other occultists and what have you, that they originally wanted to be taxed. They wanted to be taxed.
I think they actually, they make a big deal out of like, oh, we don't have tax exempt status. We don't want it because we don't think religion should be tax exempt. Like
or
they
some
make a
shit
big
like
deal
that.
out of
Which again, we don't know what. It depends on, like I said, what do you mean by tax exempt status? Like, are we talking about the land tax? Are we talking about rental tax? Like, what are we talking? So I'd have to go look a bit deeper into that.
I mean, I'm fine with giving them the same as other religions, just because I don't want the government picking and choosing which ones.
Indeed.
Don't.
Indeed. Yeah, but even then, that becomes the point where, should the Ayn Rand Institute be allowed to have tax exempt status because they're a religion? Where's the line?
I mean, if it were up to me, we'd all get tax exempt status.
Hey.
I'm handing out tax exempt status like candy if it's up to me.
From page 50 of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, my attorney was downstairs at the bar, talking to a sporty-looking cop. About 40 of those plastic name tags said he was a DA from someplace in Georgia. I'm a whiskey man myself, he was saying. We don't have much problem with drugs down here where I come from. Well, you will, said my attorney. One of these nights you'll wake up and you'll find a junkie tearing your bedroom apart. Nah, said the man from Georgia. Not down my parts. I joined them and ordered a tall glass of rum with ice. You're another one of these California boys, he said. Your friends here have been telling me about dope fiends. They're everywhere, I said. Nobody's safe. I'm not sure as sure as in the South. I'll skip ahead a bit for those of you out there. He goes on to talk about weapons they use and what have you. Jesus, God Almighty, said the Southerner. What the hell's going on in this country? You'll never believe it, my attorney said. In LA, it's out of control. First it was drugs, now it's witchcraft. Witchcraft? Shit. You can't mean it. Read the newspapers, I said. Man, you don't know trouble until you have to face a bunch of addicts gone crazy for human sacrifice. Nah, he said. That's science fiction stuff. Not where we operate, my attorney said. Hell, in Malibu alone, these goddamn Satan worshippers kill 6 or 8 people every day. He paused to sip his drink. And all they wanted is blood, he continued. They took people right off the street if they have to. He nodded. Hell yes. Just the other day, we had a case where they grabbed a girl right out of McDonald's hamburger stand. She was a waitress, about 16 years old, with a lot of people watching too. What happened? Said our friend. What did they do to her? He seemed very agitated by what he was hearing. Do? Said my attorney. Jesus Christ, man! They chopped her head off right in their parking lot. They cut all kinds of holes in her to suck the blood out. God Almighty, the Georgia man explained. Nobody did anything. What could they do?
Sequels are getting lame.
What?
These Hellraiser sequels are getting lame.
Oh, they're getting lame, but I'll just say this. This is more like a prequel. If anything, this is more like a Eternal Darkness, Sandy's Requiem sort of thing. Everyone's going mad. No, but in all honesty, I'll continue. Let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, chop the head. Oh yes. What could they do? He said. The guy took the head was about 6'7" and maybe 300 pounds. He was packing 2 Lugers and the others had M16s. They were all veterans. The big guy used to be the major in the Marines. They said. My attorney. We know where he lives, but we can't get near the house. Nah, our friend shouted, not the major. He wanted the pineal gland. I said. It's how he got so big. When he quit the Marines, he was just a little guy. It goes on about that, but I found it really interesting. What? This is supposedly in the late 60s, early 70s. This is around the time when the majority of the country was carrying, I'd say 32 ACP, 25 ACP, 45 ACP, 380 ACP. Like the pistol calibers were not as diverse as they are right now. People still were using 45 as a standard and 38 as a standard, because the reason behind it was that all the European weapons were in millimeters at the time. And even then, because of World War II, people weren't making as many guns because they had NATO. And even then, all the guns that were 9mm, which would be the Walther not the Walther PPK, the Walther PP, I believe, Luger, the P08 Luger, and I believe the Walther P38. Those were all Nazi guns. So we already know there's a weird connection between, white nationalism as well as Satanism. So it's really odd that somebody who's a Marine who is trained with the 45 would deliberately choose 2 Lugers. Why would they choose 2 Lugers? Well, it could be something that was around the house. Again, at the time, getting ammunition, getting parts for the Luger. Because again, the Luger was more of a war trophy. People wanted to go pick up Lugers, in World War II to take home and say, oh, look at me, I got a Luger. It's a piece of history. Woohoo, So it's very odd that we have somebody who claims to be a werewolf. Same thing that a lot of these other occult groups claim, or the Satanist groups, they claim to be werewolves and so what have you. But there's also a book, and this is where I wanted to verify it. This is actually a book by LaVey. It's called The Devil's Notebook. It's in the link in the description as well, ladies and gentlemen. Follow along. It talks about how to become a werewolf. It literally talks about how to become a werewolf in this. So it's not
cool.
Yeah, I mean, we get fuck your was it the Skyrim DLC where you become a vampire or some shit. But what it says, how to become a werewolf, the fundamentals of lycanthropic metamorphosis, 3 principles and application. So it's interesting that we have somebody who has no connection whatsoever to this occult crap. They talk about this stuff at the same time. These people would have these ideas. So there is a connection here. It's the same time
frame. Be turned into a werewolf by another werewolf, though?
No, it's a metaphorical translation. Basically, it's faking it till you make it. You're basically you're morphing into something that you want to be. So it's more like you're shedding your own cocoon.
Oh, so
you're becoming a beautiful butterfly. Yeah, it's gay. It's gay.
So it's like what was that sequel? The prequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, Red Dragon.
That's kind of transformation into a dragon.
Yeah, that type of stupid shit. Point is
so it's play pretend.
That's a lot of this stuff is LARPing the fuck out of it. But yeah, that's basically what it is. Now, at the same time, there's a long history of this type of crap. Do you know anything about James Mason, Mr. Beckloff?
About who?
James Mason. James Mason, the guy who wrote Siege. The old meme, read Siege.
I don't know anything about him other than when people tell me to read the book, I usually just ignore that person from.
Okay, but you do know who James Mason? What he's
I know
known.
Everyone tells me I should read Siege.
Do you know what Adamwaffen is?
Again, this is shit I hear from Spurgs, but I don't know a lot of the terminology.
Right. Well, Adamwaffen was supposedly a white nationalist terrorist group that was operating in present day. I've been covering a lot of their shit too because they're having trouble with with a lot of this satanic crap, because they're not into this stuff, but the fringes are always popping up here and there. Now, I have an idea as to why that might very well be. I have an idea behind it, and there's actually a wonderful book in here. I'll pull it up for you. 1 second. Let's see.
I feel like the LaVey Satanists are like, no, we worship ourselves, and it's a metaphor, and it's basically just like trolling, but except they somehow take it seriously.
Yeah, and at the same
I think
time,
I'd actually have more respect for somebody that's like, no, I worship the devil.
yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't know how much that's going to work out for you, but
good luck.
I mean, that's better than, I tell people I worship the devil, but really I'm sniffing my own farts.
Yeah, exactly. And keep in mind, Jim Goad, he also has connections to the LaVeyan Satanists. He actually is a card-carrying member, according to a couple books I've read. So keep that in mind. So this is James Mason. He is one of the founders of, or at least the runners of Adam Wathan.
I thought he worshipped a black boy's butthole.
And well, that's actually that's what Jim Goad did, but I don't know about James Mason. But I found this. This is another link. You can send it. Regarding the Church of Satan by James Mason. Questions continue to be raised concerning my own stance regarding LaVey and the Church of Satan. Probably now is the time to get all this clarified and down on paper once and for all. This is written by James Mason. This is an archive capture from his site called Siege Culture. This isn't a condemnation, nor is it an endorsement. I neither disown nor do I embrace either the man or his creation. It simply were objects of interest in the world being pulled apart. The biggest consideration is that I went with Commander Rockwell. That's George Lincoln Rockwell, the head of the neo-Nazi party for that at that time. At that time, and he's saying that, and no one else. There have been a blurb on the final issue of the Stormtrooper of the summer of 1968. Which pointed out that the government permitted a satanic burial in a federal cemetery, but had refused Rockwell's. It goes on and on and on. But again, this guy has a connection. So we have another connection between a white nationalist, again. The first white nationalist I'd say that was connected to the church would be, I believe his name was Jack Donovan. We already know that Jack Donovan has already made a claim that he was connected to this group as well. On top of Jim Goad, we already have, that's another connection. So three connections to this fucking group.
Man, I got another connection.
What?
That Jack Donovan guy.
Yeah.
He was once on the Beckloff live stream.
Oh, really?
And then that Beckloff guy, he was on your live stream.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No, but honestly, you weren't connected to any of this stuff.
Dashing Rogue confirmed for Satanist white nationalist. Right here, I connected the dots.
Yeah. Yes,
Breaking
indeed. But at the same time, again, I just find it interesting because keep in mind, I'm only 29. This crap's been going on since the 60s.
Yeah, I don't really know anything. I had Jack on the show once because I just invited like anybody remotely hovering around the alt-right, and I was in a private Facebook group with him, which was just a bunch of manosphere shitlords, mostly where they just shared articles and like I usually just shared girly pics because fuck yeah.
No, I agree with you on that.
The only interaction other than him being briefly on the show once and just checking out because it was a bunch of nerds. I remember I shared a meme once, and it was some meme I found on Facebook where it says, like if you love tacos, ignore if you like angry butt sex with Satan. And I shared that in the group, and I was like, I expect all of you except Jack Donovan to like this meme. and he thought it was funny, to his credit. But that's the extent of my my interactions with him. I mean, he seems a little up his own ass, but that's most of the guys in the dissident right. So
this is another link I have sent to you, Luke. It's a Twitter, it's archive Twitter. This is from Trident Antifa. Now, Trident Antifa again, they're Antifa. Take it with a grain of salt in that regard. What do you got here, Luke?
Oh, that image? Well, there's a classic apologetics kind of video, and let's see if I can play it.
Okay.
Reversal than most people realize or would care to admit.
But I can do anything that I want to. I can pursue any kind of lustful desires that I might feel. I can engage in any activities that are so-called sinful activities. I'm not really worried about any ecumenical councils making it right for me to do these things.
Living for, as I've said, all of the earthly and carnal pleasures.
The satanic world is a world reborn in purity.
That blonde chick, by the way, there's a conspiracy theory on the internet that says that Taylor Swift was cloned from her.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Really? Oh,
Well,
God.
I mean, I don't know
I'm
how serious
serious.
anybody is, but they
I
kind
would
of look
love
alike.
to
That's the
know.
only
I
thing.
would love to know if that's the case, because then, the alt-right's Aryan goddess actually is part Jewish by cloning, by the way. I don't know if they actually considered that. But it would be interesting to find out if that actually there had some merit behind it.
If a Christian said to you, you're just really worshiping yourself, what would you say?
In a sense, they would be right. It is a form of self-worship.
We feel that
Yep.
there's no reason
And
why.
again,
lame.
people are wondering. People want to know why I'm bringing this up, because these people, if they get into your movement, you're never going to get anywhere with any political change, because they'll have a little histrionic, tantrum where they'll make it all about themselves. They'll make it all about, their own ego, and nothing will happen. They'll basically do what Bernie has been doing the last 2 election cycles. a better tries to run for president. Something better turns up that's immediately there. He goes for it. He'll go for it again and again.
Oh, did you see little AOC is endorsing Biden now too?
Aww.
Yeah.
She went.
Yeah,
in, our little progressive princess decided to go shill out for the neoliberals. They grow up so fast.
I know. It's such a sad thing. Try an Antifa. Here's a thread showing friends of one of the Atomwaffen members and the other members of Raven Blood Kindred of the Astaru Folk Assembly, not affiliated with the Free Folk, by the way. Nathan
we know
Thayer,
of.
that we know exactly. That's always a possibility, because I did look into Bulwarker's past, and he does have a lot of spiritual leftist bullshit behind this fucking crap, stuff that you would never want somebody in the right wing to have. Nathan Thayer has put out an sorry, I gotta get some water. My apologies.
Are we reading the article? What are we reading?
I'm reading the tweet as I'm going down, because I'm reading it as I go.
Article. Let's see.
Put out an expose here, which you can look at there. I will not click it, by the way. Don't click it. On the Nazi Satanists in Atomwaffen. And there is a Nazi Satanist, because even then even the Antifa have called this shit out. So why are they fetishizing Manson, right? Why are they fetishizing Manson? That's something you're going to see a lot of. Is there's a weird connection between idealization of Charles Manson with these occult groups. But as they go down to the second part of the page, the second tweet, it's worth pointing out again that Atomwaffen was inspired by James Mason, and both the Church of Satan, they did the request there. High Priest spoke highly of Manson. Manson has even hung out with the COV members. Satanism with ideals like elitism and might is right. Social Darwinism is aligned with fascism. And it is. It absolutely is. They don't care about anything. They just want to just impose their will on other people and take over. They're authoritarian by nature. They claim to be libertarian, but that's only so they can find out what the proper way to run society, and then they're just dead to rights at that point. Again,
I know another person that wants to run society and goes on about will to power.
Who?
They all look very similar to each other in the end.
An old buddy of mine named David Serini.
It's funny we should talk about that, because what does he talk about, the whole ectomorph or whatever the fuck it was?
Yeah,
like how he should
xenomorphs and ectocoolers, or I don't know.
No, he's talking about body type. Remember that?
Yeah, it's some sports medicine body type thing, and he was rambling on about it because every time he pulled a chart or something off of a blog somewhere, it's like, this shows that I'm in this category and thus I should run society. See, I'm not a xenomorph. I'm an ecto-cooler, so I should run society.
I'm an ecto-cooler. That's great.
Are you guys
I
familiar
miss
with...
ecto-coolers,
wow,
by the
you
way.
guys...
I see. Please bring that back.
Oh, guys, are you guys familiar with Fritz the Cat?
I have heard of Fritz the Cat.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's actually a scene because Fritz runs into he's an adult cartoon character, runs into these weird situations, and in this one scene he's talking with these neo-Nazi characters who are planning this terrorist attack, and he basically articulates what Dashing was talking about. If I could play it right.
Oh, the one with the bunny.
Well, now we must devote ourselves to the great task that lays before us.
Oh, this is the psychedelic 60s, baby.
That's all I care about. The revolution.
You're full of shit. All you care about is a reason to hurt, to destroy, to blow up.
Isn't like Fritz the Cat made by a Jew?
I think so.
So yeah, this would be very interesting. I'm getting a lot of like oy vey vibes off this one, but keep playing it.
But that was the point. Like he's pointing out this neo-Nazi character wants the revolution. No, you just want an excuse to hurt people.
Yeah, exactly. They, but it's funny you bring this up, Mr. Beckloff, because there's a very similar. As I'm looking, because people always joked about Irini looking like LaVey. Have you actually read this? There's actually a book of game that was originally created by these occult groups, and it was for women originally. It was written. It was called The Satanic Witch by Anton LaVey, and basically what it was like Rushdie's Bang, but for women at the time. And they talk very much about this. Researchers such as Sheldon and Krishmer have helped a great deal by the classification of body type and personality type. Sheldon defined the human's physique into 3 categories: ectomorph, or thin, cerebral, and straight up and down; mesomorph, wedge-shaped and practical and broad-shouldered; and endomorph, or roly-poly, social and broad hip. For these basic classifications, Sheldon defined literally hundreds of sub-classifications in all varied 3 types. Kirshner used this same fundamental typing as he called leptosome, athletic, and piketic. The method used convenience. Basically, he goes on to say there are certain types of people who are naturally be better at running things, some people who will be better at athletics and hard labor, and then there are people who are better for learning and what have you. It's in this book here. So I think it's interesting that Irini is hanging out with somebody who looks like Meatloaf, who claims to be some sort of priest of hell or some shit like that. Yeah, he starts talking about this type of crap. So I'm wondering.
I'm sure one of them mentioned it, or they pointed him towards a blog. That's always been Davis's shtick. Like, it's not something I saw through at first, but it's always been. I read a blog post about some metrics, some heuristics, some classification, and here's how it proves that I should run society because I don't want to have to work.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, I like working. I love working.
I mean, this is Marxism, pure and simple.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like working myself. That's why they have to pay me.
There you go.
But I don't think I'm above it.
But of course, the thing about Marx
the difference.
Of course, the thing about Marx is he's just an expression of absolute absolute laziness and nepotism. He never worked a day in his life and spent all of his career at the expense of his wife and children, making a book saying how people don't need to work.
And what is this Howard the Duck thing?
This is an old joke we found a while ago. Somebody sent this to me years and years ago. I was still buddies with Davis. But there's that guy in Howard the Duck there that we just saw. Looks fucking just like Davis Irini.
My God. Looks just like Jim Goad trying to be like Davis Irini.
There he is.
Which, by the way, was hilarious. Say what you will about Jim Goad, but that video was
you gotta give the kid points. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Give the devil his due, I guess, but that video was fucking funny.
Indeed. So play the clip. I want to see Davis do some, spicy.
Was just that scene. Like
he just
hands Howard the Duck a bottle.
Holy shit!
That
freaking, can we get a gif of him like doing the whole cigarette dance?
Let's see if I can find it.
There we go. Give him just a repeat of that. Fucking
I'll find it somewhere.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh boy. There we go.
I'm gonna duck out. Thanks for having me.
Duck out, man. It's good to have you on, man. It's good for you to be here. It's very good. So yeah, So then, of course, we have connections between the connections just don't end. If we look at this particular article from The Black Flame, which was another satanic publication in the early 1990s, we could see Peter H. Gilmore, who was a high priest of the Church of Satan. He was running the whole shtick at the time. He's advocating Siege. Siege, the collective writings of James Mason, edited and introduced by Michael M. Jenkins. Storm Books, P.O. Box, This is back in the 1990s. I'm not going to get it's irrelevant data right now. The reviewer, Peter H. Gilmore. This book is a monumental achievement. Editor Jenkins took great care to assemble Manson's writings, which had been produced in a newsletter, Siege, from 1980 to 1986, in accordance to the progression that the charts Manson's thinking and his own National Socialist Odyssey, from an explorer picking up from his predecessors to the sage with wisdom gained from working to make an effective revolutionary movement in the exacting area of reality. Manson is most certainly a political extremist, but my dear reader, as a Satanist, because again, this is assuming that you're a Satanist reading this, as a Satanist, you are also an extremist in the realm of religion and philosophy. This book offers a great insight into the progression of the evolution extremist movement here in the United States. I found it remarkable parallels between the types of individuals that Manson encountered in his field to those who have experienced in the satanic scene. Even amongst its peers, Manson became a loner, and he comprehended the meaning behind the deeds attributed to Manson, and thus found a universal order, a concept very much akin to the satanic view of man's place in the cosmos. If you're a Satanist and you have not gotten a sense of perspective on how your movement fits into American society, look at this account of the American National Socialist movement and learn. Manson's writing is clear and filled with clarity. This massive tome is graced with rare photographs of individuals, posters, and documents that are, I'm not going to read the whole fucking thing because I'm being bored. Point is this guy, again, they were connected. I mean, one of the fucking high priests was shilling for his fucking book in his newsletter. So what the fuck? We have Donovan, we have Smackhead, we have this guy, the guy who's running the fucking terrorist group supposedly that's killed people. What the fuck is going on?
The more we go over this, the more I realize it seems like this seems like a continuous group of people that has spanned over several decades, and it just seems like they just try to grift themselves to they took their Satanistic ideology and try to apply it to everything they try to get their hands on.
Well, that's the whole point of this whole universal order thing. If we look into what their definition of universal order is, it's essentially a utopianism. It's their notion that you can't just, you have to do, there can't be, it's order in the sense that everybody will fall in line. There won't be any counter to it because everyone will accept it. So I find it very interesting, and I bring this up because I'll be frank with you, you can't have these people join your movement. You can't have them join your movement because these are the type of people who will destroy any semblance of your they'll make it about them. They're basically SJWs, but they're smarter than SJWs.
I mean, all these people have the same cause side effect of Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
Allow these people to run anything, and they will run it into the ground the way he ran Charlottesville.
Yes, indeed. Now what is also interesting, and I've talked about this before, is that why are we seeing all this connection between Satanism and LaVey? Well, I think it's a matter of, I don't think that it was a grand conspiracy. I think it was just happenstance. So there is a clip here, and I want to play it for you. This is from Gangland. Gangland was at 13 minutes, played at 13 minutes, please.
13 minutes, you say?
13 minutes, yeah. If we bring this, I want to bring this up because they're going to talk about Manson trying to join the AB, the Aryan Brotherhood at the time, which was a prison gang. What is interesting to me about this whole scenario is that whatever reason, they did protect Manson. They did protect Manson. They did it because Manson would get them things and what have you. But you're going to see why it's so relevant as we continue. Play it.
Despite the presence of handcuffs, guards, and guns, they also allowed the Aryan Brotherhood to dominate prisons for decades and gave them such power that the most feared man in America came to them for protection. 1972. Charles Manson is transferred to Folsom Prison from San Quentin's death row after the California Supreme Court declares the death penalty unconstitutional. Manson arrives afraid.
At least he's consistent.
Yeah, keep going.
Attacked by black inmates. He wants to join the AB for protection. The brand says no. Despite their violent reputation, the Aryan Brotherhood does have a code of honor.
The crime that Manson committed were offensive to the Aryan Brotherhood. Sharon Tate had a baby in her body. That is one of the rules. You don't kill children. You don't kill innocent people.
Even with their contempt for his crimes, Michael Thompson and the brand look at Manson and see dollar signs. Thompson says they began using Manson's cult of women followers to smuggle in contraband.
So you keep Charlie close and you keep him under your wing and you keep him protected because you have access to his girls who have access to the weapons and things that you want, including drugs.
The Brotherhood's smuggling operation is almost derailed. Michael Thompson claims Folsom officials installed metal detectors, but he says he found a way to beat them using a special weave of electrical tape.
Pause it.
So I had them wrap.
So essentially, it was out of convenience. Based on what I've discovered, it was the reason these people were working with Manson was out of convenience. Now, this is interesting because I was reading an article here about Boyd Rice, which was connected. He was connected to the Church of Satan, as well as he also did a collaboration, I believe, with Jim Goad, another Satanist that we can confirm. In this particular article, I will send it to you. He talks about he actually talks about Milo Yiannopoulos, because apparently these people are still watching the counterculture scene, which I thought was really interesting here. He says, I'm going to read off the part that I found interesting. So this is the interviewer talking. Thank you so much for talking with me, Boyd. Sure thing. Thank you. When this controversy first happened, I never heard the word dialogue used so much. Oh, then we'll have a dialogue and you'll get to talk. It hasn't been a dialogue at all. This is a dialogue. Well, the reporter. Well, I wanted to make sure you get your side of the story. Get your side. So did I give you a chance to do that? He says, yes, I think so. And you were going to ask me about Manson. That's the reason why I was involved with the skinheads. Manson wanted me to recruit some skinheads to break him out of San Quentin. He had a whole plan. And the skinheads were absolutely not interested in it. Then they were suspicious of me because my closest to San Francisco's Anton LaVey, he's a Jew. No shit. Levi. So that didn't go too well. Then Manson decided a friend of his was going to get out of prison, and he should hijack a helicopter at Fisherman's Wharf, fly over to San Quentin, and drop them off. He was out in the yard, like Mission Impossible. Yeah. So that's the reason why I got arrested going into San Quentin, taking in a bullet. I was supposed to take a bullet in every week until he had enough bullets for zip guns or something, and then some people he knew in there were going to help him get out in a helicopter. So we already have a connection, let's say, between extremist group, white nationalist group, and a prison gang. So we know that the skinheads are working together and they're idolizing Manson. So what the fuck's going on here? Another weird connection that needs to be elaborated. Now, I showed this to a friend of mine. He said you should do combine this and the fact that you also did you looking into that guy, Dr. Gonzo from Fear and Loathing, his disappearance, with the whole connection between werewolves, Luger carrying Marines, and Adrenochrome. There should almost certainly be a field of a Freedom of Information Act done. However, at the issue, what's up?
So all these things are happening, all we're noticing all these things, but is it leading to something? Is there some sort of greater points that we're getting to?
Well, I think that the issue here is I'm of the opinion that these people never went away. that a lot of these Wignat people, these people who claim to be on the right, are actually leftists in disguise. They are spiritual leftists. That they are the people who are all about the self. They just aren't about yourself. They're not consistent. They rather have, socialism for thee, but capitalism for we. They're the type of people who want to be Bill Gates and who want to basically rule the world and then have everyone bend over and so they can rule. They're basically like Irini in a lot of ways. Now that's basically my issue with that. I don't think that these people should be in the movement. I don't think these people should be anywhere near politics, to be honest. I think that a lot of the stuff that they've said and the stuff that they've done have not, worked in tandem together. I find that interesting.
I'm actually reminded of how these so-called working scandals occur. Like when politicians hire somebody and they don't say, how did you not know this? And like, well, we don't know this stuff. I mean, how's a politician supposed to keep track of all this stuff?
I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I'm not going to identify it with the alt-right anymore. I'm not, I haven't done my census yet, and I'm not going to fucking identify. No, I'm not. I'm not going to fucking say identify.
As if anyone wants to touch that after, with Big Richard Spencer, that and all that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Spenny destroyed everything. He really did ruin everything for everybody. Spenny just destroyed it for everybody. And the truth be told is I think Fuentes should be careful about letting these type of people, or anybody, let's say Fuentes or Charlie Cockroach Kirk, they should be careful about letting these people into their movement. These people have a history of, I wouldn't say death, but let's say infamy. If you care about optics, you'll keep these people out of your movement. They're histrionic. They have a tendency for glamour and maybe even murder, criminality. We already know this in this regard. You say, what is the point behind all this? Well, I'm looking in, just trying to get information about what did these people do? How did this all come to fruition? How do they all start meeting each other? That's what I was interested in. Doing a little bit of history work. Because I'll tell you this, Antifa is looking into this type of crap. And if let's say Antifa makes a move and says, you know what, we're gonna actually have a dialogue with Steven Crowder or some conservative Christian, and they show all this data that I showed you, all this data that I have given, all this data, maybe even some I don't have, and they start being intellectually dishonest about it. Do you know what kind of damage that would do to the right-wing movement? Do you know what type of damage? Like, you and I know that they're edgelords. We all know that they're basically edgelords and borderline utopians, thinking that it could be rational about their utopianism. It doesn't work that way.
But I know these are the tactics of television media, but still, it's very effective.
Yeah, it is. What would be, by the way?
At the American Conservative, from which he was fired from 9 months later for being too extreme. This was from March to December of 2007. He then had a 23-month stint as executive editor at Tacky's Mag from January 2008 to December 2009, after which he was let go due to the publication's stagnation. From March on,
Who's that?
Yeah, if I was in charge.
This is Richard Spencer.
Wait, Spencer worked for Tacky Mag?
Yep.
He worked for Smacky Mag? Oh my God.
Let me see.
Send me that link. I want to look into that. I want to look into this history of the Smacky Mag.
And wanting to enslave Haitians. And so if you're going to bring up how he has a right to free speech, though, well, he can just bring up somebody who's arguing against you will just bring up how Richard Spencer is opposed to free speech. So they can just call him a white supremacist and ban him, and his supporters have no real moral grounds to complain because he is in fact a white supremacist and he's against free speech.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. I find it.
I mean, this original video doesn't exist anymore. It's because I guess he took it down for personal reasons, but it's on his BitChute channel still.
You have to send me a link to that. I'd very much like to get information on that, because that's another connection between Jim Goad and Smacky Mag, as well as Spencer. I think it's very interesting.
Actually, let me go back to that one clip to see if we could play some more.
Against media smears. But Richard Spencer tried to get the label back exclusively on Radix. But by January 2008 to December 2009, after which he was let go due to the publication's stagnation. From March 2010 to July 2012, he founded and edited the Alternative Right original website. The term himself, the term alternative right, he got that from...
Yeah, well, everything else is just alt-right fame game.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And, well, I'll just be honest with you. We've been going for about 50 minutes or so, just doing some investigation here. I think I'm definitely going to try to do a freedom of information request into this appearance. More specifically, not just this disappearance, but into the supposed werewolf that got caught by this particular attorney and was tried. I want to know more about this guy. I want to know more about why he was carrying Lugers. Why was he a Marine? I want to know more about that. So I'm going to be looking deeper into that, and that's going to take some time, maybe 6 months or so. So I'll get back to that at some point, whenever the hell, because Lord knows, we're in a pandemic. They're not going to fucking give you information about that. It's not exactly a priority, right? So there is that. But then again, moving on to something else, entirely different. Well, not entirely different. Let's just say Edgy McEdersons can be atheists, and they don't have to, worship the devil or worship themselves. But they do like to put copyright claims onto people's videos who criticize them. Luke, do you know anything about what happened to you?
Oh, all right. Well, the thing is, it's not a copyright strike, it's just a copyright claim. I recently made a video criticizing Matt Dillahunty's chessboard analogy, and even though the video is not taken down, it's been given a copyright claim, which is to say that it will still be playing on YouTube, but I can't monetize it, but the Atheist Experience can run ads on it for they can monetize off of it.
Which, I don't, like, again, I sort of get where you're coming at with that. Simply because if I start putting out information, like let's say for instance, the first part of the video where we started playing the vaporwave music, well, not vaporwave, future fuck music. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, they want to monetize that part of the video. Fine by me, that's fine. The Atheist Experience, I mean,
I know it's just another it's a internet celebrity YouTube channel. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, like I've had fucking Tim Pool on as a source on my channel before. Does that mean Tim Pool magically gets my fucking monetization?
And what's weird is that this is a criticism. Wait, so I mean, this is one thing when I was making the YouTube videos on Steven Universe, because it was Turner, ETESE, or the bigger conglomerates who are claiming the copyright. And technically, it is fair use, but I never bothered with that. But this is another YouTube channel taking a copyright claim, and I'm not sure if it's the algorithm or them personally. Of course, them personally, it's really petty and small-minded. But if they're agreeing to it, it's just stupid all around.
Well, let me just say this: when I first heard this, I was thinking to myself, "This sounds like Atheist Plus type of shit." I don't know. No, it does. It does. Like, it legitimately sounds like an SJW who just so happens to be an atheist as well, and so happens to be a feminist, and so happens to care about social justice, and like the plus thing, right? If this type of crap continues, like, what's to say that if I criticize Sargon, or anybody criticizes Sargon, and then then they just start making money off of the criticism to the point where you start having, oh God, reality TV versions of what, I mean, they do the whole thing to Logan Paul. What happens if Logan Paul does something retarded and then people start calling out Logan Paul? He's an independent content creator, right? Does that mean he gets to start, monetizing your channel because you put a still image of, let's say, his face?
Yeah, oddly enough, didn't Mundane Matt, wasn't he always criticized for that? Like, someone tried to bring that issue with him for talking about things despite the fact that he was just using the stock footage of it?
I'm not entirely certain about that, but
it's just weird though, because in the media, because YouTube is a audio and visual medium, and obviously the easy way around this is to never use audio or visual from the content you're talking about. But I thought, this is a YouTube, this is a video and audio and visual medium. Why are we not allowed to use that as simple discussions? I mean, it'd be like, imagine writing an essay, but every time you quote someone, you had to pay the publisher some money.
Yeah, and well, yeah, exactly. I think it's very. Like, don't get me wrong. How much clips did you use for this in particular?
Well, I mean, I clipped it all over the place. I mainly the clips was him describing his chessboard position, him describing his consequentialism, and then him And well, the other edits were just like a comedic effect. But the thing is, I didn't use the entire footage. I'm not claiming that's mine. I'm not claiming any of that. It's just
honestly, dude, I would fight that. And if you can, give me a copy of that video, because I think this is something that's worth fighting over. Honestly, simply because it sets a precedent.
Of course, the disclaimer that when I sent my complaint, I did send it earlier, and they said that the YouTube himself doesn't actually do it because they don't actually review copyright ID claims. They just send it to the plaintiff, and they'll decide whether or not they're going to do it. So this is entirely on them. The YouTube will not be involved in this whatsoever.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So depending on which way this goes, it could be completely personal or completely irrelevant. It could have been that the YouTube algorithm just picked up something similar, which is odd that they're coming to the aid of the Atheist Experience channel, and they just jumped onto it. Hopefully if they're more sensible than their leader suggests, then they will drop it entirely.
Well, yeah, it just, like, again, what the fuck? If I start criticizing the American Communist Party, does that mean the American Communist Party should get my money, monetization?
But
what about Satanists? What about the Satanists? What about fucking, the Catholic Church? Should they start getting, money?
As long as you don't use video or audio from them.
I hope not. I hope not. I hope not.
Because otherwise, because the thing is, they add a certain level of authenticity to your videos, because you could say that the person said this, but the video puts it in his own words, in his own language. I think so.
Yeah. Honestly, it's fucking weird.
But
it's fucking weird.
This is because this is personal for me. Maybe it won't happen. Nothing will come of it. Maybe you'll just go back to normal. But I think it's a little weird that you have to pay money. Someone can make money off of your criticism of them. That just seems so backwards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, even then, let's take this to a logical conclusion. Like I said, let's look at like Logan Paul, or any of these other like edgy, oh god, what the hell is Leafy a thing still? Let's suppose Leafy actually, picks a fight with somebody, and he doesn't use any fucking he doesn't use any freaking clips, but someone uses a clip of his. Does that mean that Leafy automatically gets to milk that guy for all his money and views? I'm only bringing this up not to say that I hate Leafy or hate any of those people, just that at what point do we start, abusing the system? So, like, I criticize Beckloff criticizes Matt criticizes me, and we just start getting money off of each other. It's like a circle jerk of money. I'm not kidding.
But it's just icing on the cake of the whole algorithm nonsense, which may or may not actually be an algorithm. It just another reason to hate this platform so much.
I don't know. I mean, part of me wants to use this as a way to weaponize monetization. No, I'm not. No. I'm serious about that. Like, that they go after people for like, you lose super chats. Oh, you lose that. Oh, you lose. The ability to monetize. Why don't somebody like you go after me, and then I get to and then you get to have my money, but you'll give it to me, and then I'll go after you, and then you'll lose your money, but I'll get your money and I give it to you, and that way we can just bypass this whole fucking thing entirely.
Who's to say they're not doing that now? Wow, I hadn't thought of that before.
Yeah, exactly. It's entirely possible, but this thing opens up so many fucking doors that you don't really know about.
Of course, there is a question if the president has been set for this, because for all I know, other people have been doing this for years.
Yeah, it very well could be. That's how you get out of it. That's how you get ahead.
I mean, because after all, normally it's not a strike, because I think they kind of got rid of strikes when they realized how completely pointless and irrelevant they are. So they just have claims where they can keep the video on, but let people monetize off of it, even though you can't monetize it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It depends. Like if I make a clip, like a segment of, let's say, Nick Fuentes' stream, I totally get why. Let's say I send in a super chat and I want him to read it, and I have that clip, which I do. Does that automatically mean that Nick should get that money? I don't know. Maybe it depends, because
of course, I imagine that the Atheist Experience is part of the partnership program, where I am not.
You should try. I might try it as well. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just a free speech guy. Just let people talk all they want. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but hey.
I just need to get 11 hours of viewership a day, which will take a year to do so. But we'll find out if I can do that.
I don't know when my last hour of viewership has gone. I don't know what the exact statistics are for my on my side. However, I don't know. I mean, honestly, at this day and age, I don't know. But I'm slowly running out of things to talk about. So I think we're going to end it here. We will do another. I do this every so often. Like, again, I originally started my podcast. I want just to talk about certain things. I want to talk about, stuff that I've learned, stuff that I've done, and stuff that, just like a blog, more like a meme war diary, if that makes any sense. But be that as it may, what I've basically, I don't want to become known as the conspiracy guy, but at the same time, when this stuff happens, I look into it as much as I can. Now, granted, because it's history, I don't have all the information. That doesn't mean you make a conclusion, but then again, you have to make a conclusion regardless. You do it every single day. So, Luke, final thoughts?
Yeah, this whole talk about this whole Satanism connection in all these negative, like what Antifa would do with these connections, it really is a horrible guilt by association, which always reminds me of this video by Alternative Hypothesis about the meta cult, and hopefully I have it queued at the right spot.
That's the point of white privilege. That's the point of saying even if you're poor white, you still benefit from white privilege. You benefit from all sorts of past oppression, the lingering effects of past oppression, because you are white. And if you are black, you are at all sorts of disadvantages because you are black. Now, in arguing against all of this, you're allowed to meekly argue against the policies. You're allowed to make these very weak and timid appeals to morality and to individualism and to bootstraps. And this creates the illusion of debate. But as soon as you start mounting any kind of vigorous opposition to what is said about slavery, to what is said about segregation, to what is said about genetic equality between the races, which undergirds everything. All of these beliefs require genetic equality between the races. Once you start questioning any of that, then you are racist, Nazi, Ku Klux, and that is not allowed. So you can...
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I've considered, let me just say this. It's a bomb. It's technically a bomb that could be used on the alt-right at any time, and I'd rather have somebody like Fuentes or somebody like Crowder use it than have somebody like Antifa. Because this is something, the more you let these people into your movement, the more, people with magical thinking can use this and weaponize it against against the whole group. Now, again, I've said before, some people are good, some people are bad. Some people are just hedonists and just want to, fuck and do drugs and all that stuff. But they don't want to, reach for power. When those people want to reach for power, that's when I have an issue. When they start, and when people start saying everybody who's in that group is like that, that's another when we have an issue. Some of them may very well just want to get off their life. If I ever see Jack Donovan, and maybe I'll talk to Beckloff and have him on, and we can have a conversation about it. If he wants to. Again, I try to be fair and I try to be honest, and I try the best I can to do just to report on what I see. But other than that, be good to one another, take care of one another, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, saving the West is a side quest. This is the Digital Renegade Podcast, out.